any council members that are online, and the public who are also online. I now call to order the Metro Historic Zoning Commission meeting of May 20, 2020. Out of an abundance of caution and pursuant to recommendations from federal, state, and local health agencies regarding avoiding group gatherings due to the COVID-19 coronavirus, this meeting is a teleconference meeting. Advanced public comments were possible through email, mail, and voicemail. We will also take live comments via phone. And if you have your piece of paper and pen now, this is the number. It is 629-255-1911. And please do not call until the project you wish to speak on is announced. Commissioners, I want to just remind you to please raise your hand before speaking so that we can recognize that for a vote and or also our roll call. Well, in roll call, we don't have to. Okay, so when I say your name, please say present, and we will go forward. Vice Chairman Stewart.
Present.
Commissioner Fitz.
Present.
Commissioner Jones.
Present.
Commissioner Mayhall. I'm going to move on to Commissioner Mosley. Not yet. Commissioner Price.
Present.
Commissioner Tibbs.
Here.
Okay. Commissioner Mayhall, are you on the line? Okay. Commissioner Mosley.
Mosley's not here. Mayhall, try Mayhall one more time.
Okay, Commissioner Mayhall, let's try that. Maybe you should call back in and try the connection.
Okay, you can't hear me?
Oh, there
Okay.
you go. Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Present.
Thank you. So I do believe we have quorum, and we will move forward to the next. The Commission must vote on the record that the COVID-19 pandemic requires us to hold a telephonic meeting as permitted under the Governor's Executive Order number 16. Mr. Dickerson, as our legal counsel, if you'd like to give us some directions for today.
Sure. Much like the last meeting, the board simply needs to consider, or the commission needs to consider whether the agenda constitutes essential business and that meeting telephonically is appropriate for the health and safety of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dickerson. Also, so that we have a commissioner that will make the motion and then a second, and so we will move forward to that. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, this is Commissioner Stewart. I move that the meeting agenda constitutes essential business of this body, and meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second? And I note Commissioner Jones.
I second that motion. Commissioner Jones, I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or discussion regarding this motion? Commissioner Jones, you still have your hand raised. Do you have a question? Commissioner Jones? Okay, thank you. All right, I will now take roll call of the vote. There's been a motion, there is a second, and when I say your name, please say yay or nay. Vice Chairman Stewart?
Yay.
Commissioner Fitz?
Yay.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayhall? Commissioner Mayhall? Commissioner Mayhall? You're on. Can you speak closer to your mic?
I'm here, yes.
Okay, and do you vote yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Commissioner Mosley, are you on? All right, not yet. Commissioner Price?
Yay.
Commissioner Tibbs?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we want to recognize one of our commissioners who has resigned and service on the commission, and she would like to relay to the commissioners and to the staff how much she has enjoyed serving as a commissioner. She has served a commission well, and also the city of Davidson County, Nashville and Davidson County, and we do thank her for her service during her time on the commission. Robin, is there anything else you'd like to add to that? Okay. Commissioner Boyd, we wish you much success and safety. Pursuant to the provision of Section 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, notice is hereby given that a final hearing before this commission is appealable to the Chancery Court of Davidson County or the Circuit Court of Davidson County. This is statutory writ of certiorari. You are advised to seek your own independent legal counsel to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements are met. You should also seek independent legal advice regarding the applicability of the writ of certiorari to the specific decision of the Historic Zoning Commission. For each case, there would be a public hearing. We ask that the applicant keep their presentation to under 10 minutes. They may reserve 2 minutes as a rebuttal of public comment. We ask that the public keep their comments to 2 minutes unless they have previously requested in writing for 5 minutes as a representative of a group or organization. At this time, we have not received any such requests for this meeting. During the public hearing, staff will first read any comments received in writing. At this time, no voicemails were received.
Correct.
Finally, members of the public calling in will be heard. Ms. Ziegler, are there any proposed changes to the agenda?
Yes, we would ask that the design guideline consolidation project again be deferred until we can meet again in person. And we recommend that the following 2 cases be moved to the consent agenda. One is 3060 Lebanon Pike. That's a recommendation for a neighborhood landmark. And the other is 316 South 11th. It is a violation, but the applicant has agreed to all the conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Ziegler. Are there any other discussions or questions? Other than, if I see none, hand raised, is there a motion to accept the revised agenda? Commissioner Tibbs?
Motion to approve agenda?
Thank you. Commissioner Stewart?
I second the motion.
Thank you very much. If anyone has any other comments, I think we are good to make the roll call for the motion. When I say your name, please say yay or nay. Vice Chair Stewart?
Yay.
Commissioner Fitz?
Yay.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Mayhall?
Yay.
Thank you. Commissioner Price? Commissioner Tibbs?
Yes.
Commissioner Mosley, we welcome you. Yay or nay?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Before we begin with the first case, Ms. Ziegler, are there any council members who wish to speak?
Yes, Councilmember Withers sent several emails, and I'll just read those as those particular cases come up. But also, Councilmember Benedict is with us and would like to speak.
Thank you. Robin, would you go ahead?
Councilmember Benedict?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Ms. Ziegler, and thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I just wanted to speak on the case on Plymouth Avenue. The overlay looks great. I've not had a chance to connect with the developer at this point, the applicant. However, everything looks like things are in line and the property will look very good in the neighborhood, and that the overlay is working correctly. So I do support the applicant, and just appreciate the great work that has been put in place to help keep the character of this neighborhood what it is. It's an old established neighborhood in North Inglewood. And this, again, the development that is proposed is definitely fits with the neighborhood. So I do support it and certainly look forward to connecting with the applicant at some point soon. I just haven't been able to with the current challenges and restrictions that we all have. So thank you for your good work. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer now.
We appreciate your service immensely, and we thank you for being in our meeting this afternoon.
All right.
Thank you. Now it's the time for the public to call in if someone would like an item removed from the consent agenda. And I will say the number again, 629-255-1911. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. Items removed from the consent agenda will be moved to the end of the agenda. Chairman Fitz has let us know that she will recuse herself. Ms. Sajid will read the items, and then I will ask if anyone would like an item removed from the consent. Ms. Sajid?
Yes. So the first item on consent is approval of administrative permits issued for the month. Next, 1415A Russell Street is for an addition. 2410 9th Avenue South is for an addition and a detached accessory dwelling unit. 107 South 13th Street is also for an addition. A sign is requested for the landmark at 225 Polk Avenue. An addition with a setback determination is requested for 2808 Belmont Boulevard. 2220 Grantland Avenue is for an addition and outbuilding. And staff recommends approving these projects along with their applicable conditions.
And this is Robin. I'll add to that 36 Lebanon Pike and 316 South 11th are now in consent as well.
Okay, thank you. I do have a question, Ms. Sajid.
Yes.
Just for public record, how many were on the administrative permits issued for the month, or either April and or May?
You know, I am not sure off the top of my head.
Okay, sorry. I didn't
no,
do
it's okay.
on that. Okay. Anyway, it is they're on the website online, so if anyone has any questions on that. But yes, thank you very much. Commissioners, are there any questions or any items to be removed from the consent? I don't see any hands raised. Okay. Robin, have we received any requests over the phone?
We have not.
Okay, thank you again. All right, we'll now take a motion on the consent agenda. Commissioner Price.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones?
Commissioner Jones, I move to second.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Any other questions? If not, I'll take the roll call. All right, just want to make sure nobody else has their hands raised. I will call the votes for the motion, and as I call your name, please say yay or nay. Vice Chair Stewart.
Yay.
Commissioner Jones.
Yay.
Commissioner Mayhall.
Yay.
Commissioner Mosley.
Yes.
Commissioner Price.
Yay.
Commissioner Tibbs.
Yay.
Thank you very much. The first item on public hearing is an infill at 2003 North 18th Street. Now is the time for anyone to call if they have public comment regarding the project proposed. The number again is 629-255-1911. And Metro Historic staff, zoning staff, Ms. Warren, have the floor.
Yes, good afternoon. Quick correction, it's 203 North 18th Street. This is an application for new construction of an attached duplex. As outlined in your report, the site is very unusual for Lockland Springs. It's a steep, irregularly shaped lot with no immediate historic context. The project is designed to step down the hill, taking the grade into account while reining in the overall height. More than 60 feet wide, the width significantly exceeds the closest historic context. Staff finds that while this design would be inappropriate nearly anywhere else in Lockland Springs, due to the very unusual site constraints and the location on a cul-de-sac with no immediate historic context, the proposed design could be appropriate on this specific site in terms of height, form, and massing. Staff recommends that the foundation line of Unit B on the right be lowered to approximately the finished floor line. The roof form is appropriate, and the dormer should be inset 2 feet from the wall below. Unit A does not have a porch. Staff recommends that a hood be added in this location, which is common on historic secondary entrances. Staff recommends approval of the proposed setbacks. The project uses one curb cut for a shared driveway, which is appropriate. However, the driveway terminates in front of Unit A, creating front yard parking, which the guidelines do not allow. Staff recommends the driveway extend to the north side of the duplex so that parking occurs on the side rear rather than in the front. Staff recommends approval of the application with the conditions noted in the staff recommendation. The applicant has agreed to these conditions and does not wish to make a presentation. The architect, Brittany Blanton, is here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Ms. Ziegler, have we received any comments regarding this project?
Yes, we've received an email from Councilmember Withers this morning. He writes, I wanted to share that I support the staff recommendation for the 203 North 18th Street proposal. This is an unusual lot, both in terms of topography and dimensions, but also being situated along the only cul-de-sac in the Lockland Springs neighborhood. This duplex design is not what we would typically see, but it does step down the hillside in order to minimize the height that would otherwise be necessary if a more traditional twin porch kind of design were requested that would necessitate a very tall exposed basement along the northern frontage. I definitely support the staff recommendation to extend the driveway past the left unit so that parking is beside and not in front of the housing units. Not only would this extended driveway be less visually intrusive to the streetscape, it would likely encourage residents of both units to park off-street rather than competing for limited on-street parking space. And that is the end of his remarks.
Thank you, Ms. Ziegler. Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions for either applicant?
The applicant may have a rebuttal.
Okay, might have a rebuttal. All right. Okay, so
Ms. Blanton, do you have any rebuttal of the public comment?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Blanton. Okay. We have a hand raised. Commissioner Mosley?
Yeah, I know in the staff recommendation, there is sort of a pretty typical item where staff would approve brick color. This may be a function of the rendering. It looks like there's a brick color that's outside of a red or orange range, and that appears in some of our guidelines and not others. And I was curious if the staff would comment on that, or if the applicant needs some additional guidance or commentary on if we would have any objection to something that's in more of a sand or tan color that appears in the renderings.
We will want to approve the brick color. I believe that should be one of the conditions listed there, that we review the materials, and we will want to review that, yes. If you want to make any more specific recommendations, that's fine as well.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Just want to make sure everybody knew who was speaking there. Okay. Any other questions? Other than that, we will close public hearing. All right, we will close public hearing. Commissioners, do you have any other discussion? Or is there a motion? I see no hands raised yet. All right, Commissioners Price and Mayhall, either one of you.
I move to approve. I can't see the address to specifically put that in the record right now. 203 North 18th.
Yes. 203 North 18th. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
North 18th, I move to approve.
Okay. There's a motion. Commissioner Mayhaw?
I second that motion.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I will now call the roll call for your vote. Please say yea or nay. Oh, okay. There is still a question. Commissioner Mosley.
There's a motion to approve. I think typically we would, that may go without saying that staff recommendations would be included in that motion, but just wanted to make sure we're specific, assuming we need to be specific.
Thank you very much.
You might want to ask Commissioner Price if that.
Commissioner Price, would you include that in your motion? Commissioner Price.
Sorry, I was busy talking to myself here.
Sure. Understood.
With respect to 203 North 18th, I move for approval with staff recommendation.
Yes, thank you, commissioners. We have our protocols and we're on new terms, so thank you for that. And Commissioner Mayhaw?
I second that motion.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now call the roll. Commissioner Vice Chair Stewart?
Yay.
Commissioner Fitz?
Yay.
Commissioner Jones?
Yay.
Commissioner Mayhaw?
Yay.
Commissioner Mosley?
Yes.
Commissioner Price?
Yay.
Commissioner Tibbs?
Yay.
Thank you. All right, now at this time, for anyone to call, they have public comment regarding the infill for the address 0 Plymouth Avenue. The number is 629-255-1911, and it is Ms. Warren on the project.
Yeah, and this is the one that we just heard from Council Member Benedict about. 0 Plymouth Avenue is an application for new construction of a single-family house in the Eastdale Neighborhood Conservation Zoning Overlay. This is the first infill in this area since the overlay was created. This lot is located at the back of 1233 Riverwood. The property line between the two lots was recently moved to make the vacant lot a buildable lot. The applicant proposes a front setback of about 38 feet 6 inches. This is the difference of the setbacks on either side and is appropriate. The site plan indicates a single curb cut with a driveway leading to the side of the house. The curb cut should be no more than 12 feet wide. As outlined in the report, staff is generally supportive of the proposal in terms of material, setbacks, openings, roof form, width, and overall height. The appropriate form here is a maximum of 1.5 stories. The front elevation meets this requirement. Staff does have concerns with the eave heights along the side and rear elevations, though. These tall eaves give the house a full 2-story massing on the rear, which will be visible along the side elevations. With these eaves pulled down to be consistent with a 1.5-story house, staff finds the massing to be appropriate. Staff recommends approval of the application with the conditions noted in the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Is the applicant online?
This is Gus Duffy, architect for the project, and I think maybe John Duke from Superior Construction may be on the line also.
Yes, I'm online if you can hear me.
Okay.
Great.
Mr. Duffy, do you are as the applicant, do you have any comments?
Just 2, please. The first is to express gratitude and appreciation for Jenny's hard work with us to bring this design into a condition that we all really love. So I wanted to acknowledge her efforts here. Secondly, is there are 5 conditions, all of which we agree to.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for working with the staff as well. Ms. Ziegler, do we have any comments or callers?
We have not received any additional comments.
Okay, all right. Since there are no other public comments, we will close public hearing. And now for commissioners to have any discussions. I see no hands raised.
Madam Chairman, this is Commissioner Stewart. I can't find the place on the screen to raise my hand. It seems to have disappeared. But with respect to 0 Plymouth Avenue, I move for approval based on staff recommendations.
Thank you very much. And both hands raised for Commissioner Jones and Tibbs. Commissioner Jones?
Commissioner Jones, I second that motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussions on this or the motion? Seeing none, I'll do the roll call. Again, please say yay or nay. Commissioner and Vice Chair Stewart.
Yay.
Commissioner Fitz.
Yay.
Commissioner Jones.
Yay.
Commissioner Mayhaw.
Yay.
Commissioner Mosley. Say that again, please. Commissioner Mosley?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Price?
Yay.
Commissioner Tibbs?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Now it's the time for anyone to call if they have public comment regarding the project for 307 South 11th Street. Again, the number is 629-255-1911. And Ms. Sajit will be presenting the project.
Yes. So 307 South 11th Street is an application for new construction of a 2-story retail residential structure on a vacant lot. While the general design could meet the design guidelines, staff finds that the massing could not. So this corner lot is located between a commercial corner with an historic 1-story flat roof building and 1, 2, and 3-story non-historic flat roofed buildings, and a residential district that's primarily 1 and 1.5 stories with pitched roofs. Lillian Street divides the mixed use area from the single family development. The proposed structure is 2 stories with a height of 27 feet from grade. The context for historic commercial structures is 1 story at approximately 19 feet from grade. To the right of the proposal, behind the site and across from South 11th Street, the historic residential context is 1 and 1/2 stories with pitched roofs with heights between 19 and 26 feet tall from grade. Because the building serves as a transition between the mixed use at the corner of Fatherland and South 11th to the residential district, staff finds that the width and flat roof form can be appropriate, but that the building should have a massing that more appropriately makes the transition between the 1-story non-historic commercial building to the left, the 1-story historic building across the street, and the smaller residential buildings to the right, across from and behind the proposed building. In conclusion, staff recommends disapproval, finding that the proposed design does not fully meet Section 2B1 and 2B2 for height and scale of the Lockland Springs Easton Neighborhood Conservation District design guidelines.
Thank you, Ms. Sajit. Is the applicant on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
And could you please state your name and address?
My name's Richard McCoy. I'm architect on the project. Address is 125 South 11th Street, 37206.
Oh, thank you. Do you have anything to add to this?
I do. I didn't know if you all were going to read the councilman's statement beforehand or not.
We will in a moment.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to add?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk then. As always, I want to thank staff and commission for their hard work on all these projects and this one especially. Our proposed project at 307 South 11th Street, it has a footprint of around 2,350 square feet, and the second level is around 2,200 square feet. The floor-to-floor dimensions from the ground level The second levels are 14 feet as prescribed by the MDHA 5 points redevelopment guidelines. The bearing of the roof is at 12 feet above that and provides 9-foot ceilings in the apartment units on the second level. Because of the grade, the elevation height of that parapet does not exceed the parapet height of the single level building that was noted earlier at 1100 Fatherland. If you look at the illustration that's up on the screen now, that shows that it is actually on level elevation wise with that building. The massing of our building is basically a cube with the second level corners extracted to create some visual setback and to provide porches for those 4 apartments at each corner. The porches do have roofs. Our building is set back a maximum of 8 feet along South 11th. Again, that's prescribed by MDHA, and that is the maximum allowable setback that's permitted. We did that in an attempt to recognize the change in context as it approaches the single-family houses to the south. The zoning context of the property, as was noted at 307, is MUL it's MUL adjacent to the north with a single story at 1100 Fatherland. It's the small building that is on Lillian that is adjacent and across a public alley from this property is OR 20. Across South 11th Street, there's a vacant piece of property that is also zoned MUL. And then there's a portion of one more single property that's zoned R6 for single family. And about 15% of that's contiguous with our property. And then of course, across Lillian is another R6 and single family building. The east wall of our proposed building is approximately 55 feet away from that single level non-contributing house that is east on Lillian and zoned OR 20. The south wall of our proposed building is approximately 65 feet and across a public street to the contributing single level house to the south. That house, by the way, is also possibly the smallest house on that block between Lillian and Boscoville. The west wall of our building is sited approximately 98 feet across South 11th Street to a non-contributing single level triplex, as well as an empty lot that is also zoned MUL. We feel that because of the context and the existing potential development of the other surrounding properties, that the scale of what we are proposing is conforming to the historic design guidelines. I'd like to take you on a slight tangent now. If y'all can move to the next slide. I provided this map, and I'll go through and describe what the colors mean in each one of those. The green buildings on that map are existing contributing 1 and 1.5 story residential structures. The blue buildings are new single level structures that have been added to the area in the last 15 years. The yellow buildings are new 2-story buildings that have been added to the area in the past 15 years. The orange buildings are new 2.5-story buildings that have been added to the area in the past 15 years. And the red buildings are new 3-story buildings that have been added to the area in the past 15 years. These 8 separate properties are all under the same conservation guideline, as well as the same sub-district of the MDHA 5 points overlay. The only exception are the properties at the corner of South 10th and Russell, one of which is in the Edgefield Historic Preservation overlay, and the other is in the Laughlin Springs East End. And what I'd like you to do is recognize the consistent adjacencies of all the new buildings projects to single-story residential structures over the past 15 years. I'll be happy to go through each of those cases, but you probably don't want me to at this time. I didn't provide this map or information to point out the inconsistency of the staff's past recommendations in conjunction with our request. I did, however, provide it to show that those guidelines have worked and that those two development forms can coexist within the structure guidelines. In almost every case that's pointed out on this map, there's a 2 or 3-story building that's directly adjacent to a 1 or 1.5 story context block of residential buildings. The MDHA 5 points overlay becomes critical to this conversation because it's helped drive the potential clarity and the success of the area in conjunction with this work, especially when it comes to commercial infill by creating the right balance of density with the existing fabric. This relationship was important enough as a partnership between historic and MDHA and neighborhood goals that the text of the MDHA guidelines was integrated into the historic guidelines in italics to help clarify that relationship. Or as noted in the guidelines, the italicized sections of these guidelines contains interpretive information that are meant to make the guidelines easier to understand, and they are not part of the guidelines themselves. For this, I would direct you guys to section 2, section B, part 1, paragraph 4. It directly addresses the commercial corner subdistrict of the 5 points guidelines, which says that new buildings shall not exceed 2 stories and 30 feet in height. An additional story may be added to a building provided that where it is adjacent to a detached house or residential subdistrict. If the setback is a minimum of 25 feet from the building wall or 50 feet from the property line. 3-story building in height shall not exceed 45. The fact that they recognize that 2 stories is permittable and that when you are adjacent to a single family house, that it could be 3 stories with required setback, says to me that there was some cooperation in developing these guidelines in the first place. While we recognize that the italicized sections are not part of the guidelines, we do understand that they were added to inform decisions about this unique context within our neighborhood. We believe we've met the intent of the historic guidelines as well as the intent of the structured neighborhood development patterns that Historic has worked to develop with MDHA and the community stakeholders in this process. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. You please stay on the line in case we have questions or you have a rebuttal on the public comment.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ziegler, do we have any comments regarding this project?
Yes, we've received an email from Councilmember Withers. He writes, "Thank you for your work. Thank you for your work on the staff report for 307 South 11th Street mixed-use infill project proposal in the East End neighborhood portion of the Laughlin Springs East End Conservation Overlay District. I regret that my work schedule will not permit me to attend this afternoon's Metro Historic Zoning Commission meeting, but I did want to share some thoughts on this project with the commissioners. This parcel is located within the MDHA 5.3 Development District that was created around 30 years ago through community input about desired building heights and design elements, as well as appropriate approved or excluded land uses. While that redevelopment district is set to expire at the end of 2020, those design guidelines are currently in place, and so this project would potentially be reviewed by both the Metro Historic Zoning Commission and the MDHA Design Review Committee. At the Metro Council level, I've worked with some property owners, including this one, to change the property's base zoning to align with the mixed uses that are encouraged on several parcels, such as this one, even after the 5 Points redevelopment district expires later this year. As part of this effort, I have worked with this property owner and the East End Neighborhood Association to change the base zoning on this parcel to MULA through council legislation that passed recently. That base zoning calls for mixed use, including ground floor retail or commercial uses with upstairs residential uses, as this project proposes. I'm aware that the commission does not review use. However, I do trust that the neighborhood envisioned a 2-story building on this site when the zone change public hearings took place recently. The MDHA 5 Points redevelopment district design guidelines for the commercial corner subdistrict call for buildings of up to 2 stories and 30 feet of height, and this building appears to come in at 27 feet in height, which is below that maximum. This parcel forms the southern edge of the commercial corner subdistrict there at Lillian Street, although the parcel behind this one on Lillian is also included in that subdistrict, and it has OR 20 base zoning, which will retain some degree of limited commercial uses as the transition into the residential zoning deeper into the interior of the 1100 block of Lillian. I would have to defer to staff, but that structure next door at 1105 Lillian is likely non-contributing and could be demolished, and a new infill home could be constructed there that would likely be approved at 1.5 stories, with at least a ridge height that is similar to the height of this roof height. I'm aware that a ridge height has a different impact on the street than a flat roof line, but this building's flat roof would also be separated from that adjacent OR 20 parcel by a parking area. I always appreciate the efforts of you and our other hardworking Metro Historic Zoning Commission staff to protect the character of our historic neighborhoods. In this case, I happen to disagree that the height and massing of this proposed building would negatively impact the neighborhood character. This proposal appears to meet the objectives of the 5-point redevelopment district design guidelines, as well as the recently approved MULA-based zoning. This proposed structure is located downhill from the adjacent commercial project on Fatherland and is located across Lillian Street from the contributing homes that line South 11th. It appears to me that the upstairs recessed porches on the corners will help to soften the massing of the facade along the 11th Street frontage between the historic homes south of Lillian and the one-story commercial building up the hill at Fatherland. As another matter that is technically outside the purview of the Metro Historic Zoning Commission, but that I would like to state for the record, the Shops at Fatherland and East Side Pavilion project across 11th Street are low-lying buildings with lots of open space, and yet they do foster activities and festivals that produce noise and outdoor activity that some neighbors along this portion of Lillian find to be disruptive. This infill project to cover a currently gravel parking lot on 11th with a 2-story mixed-use building may help to provide a better buffer between those outdoor events on the west side of 11th and the quieter residential streets that lie east of 11th in the East End neighborhood. For these reasons, and with great appreciation for you and the other staff's work, I respectfully submit my support for the Commission to approve this project with any reasonable modification that the Commissioners, staff, and applicant can find agreeable at today's meeting. Thank you. And that's the end of his comments.
Okay.
And we do not have any calls.
All right. Mr. McCoy, do you have any comment to Council Member Withers?
None other than I support it.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. And Commissioners, do you have any questions, additional questions to the applicant? Okay, I see none. We're going to close public hearing. And now the Commission will discuss.
Madam Chairman, this is Commissioner Stewart. Did the staff receive any comments from any neighborhood association or any of the residents in this area with this project?
No, we have not, to my knowledge at this time.
And who is speaking, please?
This is Melissa Sajid.
Thank you, Melissa. All right. Commissioner Mosley?
I want to, I'll just kick it off internally on the Commission's discussion that this one seems to me to where underlying zoning and the staff may have, I'm sure has considered this and obviously with their recommendation has a different opinion, but it seems to me that the underlying zoning and the use notwithstanding anticipates or would provide for at least the opportunity of something that were a commercial residential mix on this lot. So I would say accepting that, I'm more inclined, certainly in this case, given the adjacencies of other commercial uses, that a building of this form and size is not altogether inappropriate for the lot. Just as a general statement, in terms of massing and height, that is digging deeper down into the guidelines. And I think what we don't necessarily see in the staff recommendation is and I'm sure the staff can speak to this if we ask, but we don't see a further discussion about some of the more specific design issues as we would in others other than a flat recommendation for disapproval. And so I think maybe see a few hands raised, more discussion about whether other commissioners agree with that approach in terms of what could be permissible here and certainly what's appropriate in terms of how this relates to residential uses that are directly adjacent or across the street.
Okay, Commissioner Mosley. Commissioner Jones, please.
Yes, Commissioner Jones, I just want to state I agree completely with the comments Commissioner Mosley just made, and also just, a few of the things that Councilman Withers pointed out, even, in terms of our guidelines. It's just such an interesting area with the mixture of commercial uses, residential uses. And so with that in mind, in this particular parcel, and just, the form of the building itself, I don't think it's too much for this particular parcel, in this particular neighborhood with the mixed use underlying zoning. And I think that's, kind of what the neighborhood has envisioned. So I'm more inclined to accept this proposal as proposed. I think the form fits well for the neighborhood, and those are my comments for now.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fitz?
Yes, I just wanted to add to what Commissioner Mosley and Commissioner Jones have said. I completely see what staff was trying to achieve here, stepping down the height from the commercial to the residential buildings. But I think because of the adjacencies of the other buildings and because this lot falls on the commercial side of Lillian within that district, I find the design to be acceptable as proposed.
Thank you. Commissioner Tibbs?
Yes, I generally agree as well. But could I see the project one more time? I guess maybe the elevation, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess this is good. Yeah, I felt like just based, on the appropriateness of it and, just potential of the site context, I guess, is kind of where I was leaning back. This was more to Mr. McCoy's presentation. I felt like it actually, in this case, I do agree. I think the massing is not oversized for it. I think it will be actually probably more in context, especially as that area continues to develop. So yeah, I did want to see this again, and I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Commissioner Stewart?
This is Commissioner Stewart. I actually went by to look at this site because I did realize there was such a big difference between the houses along Lillian and this structure that's proposed. The Lillian itself, that stretch of it, is primarily one story with some 1.5 story. There have been some nice infill projects along Lillian. And my biggest concern with this project was the 27-foot wall up against the 1-story house that's adjacent to it. That has no buffering at this point other than a few low shrubs between there. I know that Councilman Withers did say that he welcomed any recommendations as far as considerations for modifications to this plan. And although there's a good deal of distance between that little 1-story house that you see to the right and the building, there will be no visual break between there. And it's a pretty non-animated facade toward the east there that looks toward that house. So it's a pretty abrupt change from a 1-story neighborhood to this building. I would ask the staff if it would be appropriate to recommend some trees or other landscaping to be located to give some buffer between the residential street and this commercial structure.
It is something that you could certainly recommend to the applicant, but because it's not something you review, it wouldn't be appropriate to be a part of your motion. This is Robin, by the way. Okay. And I will turn it over to staff member Melissa Sajid for some recommendation on conditions that might be appropriate if you do decide to go down that route of approval.
Ms. Sajid? Oh, maybe we should take Commissioner Mosley first. Okay. Commissioner Mosley?
Yeah, Commissioner Stewart, I wanted to clarify, as I was trying to get oriented on the site, wanted to clarify your comments about the reference to the one-story structure, and is that across the public street, public Lillian Street, that the reference to the house, or across the alley to the house that, I guess in front and back?
It's
the
on
front of the building faces 11th, and it's on Lillian or on the alley?
It's on the same side, the north side of Lillian, just across the little alley. That's actually part of a parking lot now. So it's immediately beside it.
Immediately beside it, or behind it, I guess, if you will, given that I'm assuming the front is, I'm referring to the front as on 11th, and behind it would be
that's
the structure, one-story structure. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. It's the middle arrow there that you can see.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Melissa, would you like to give us those potential conditions?
Sure. So this is Melissa Sajid again. If you do decide to approve this application as proposed, staff would recommend some conditions, which are typical conditions that you would see with an infill project. The first, that the finished floor height be consistent with the finished floor heights of the adjacent historic buildings, to be verified by MHCC staff in the field. And then for materials, that staff approve the final selections of the masonry, siding, windows, doors, and any fences or walls prior to purchase and installation. And then regarding the HVAC, that the HVAC be located either on the roof or on the side of the building beyond the midpoint, so that it meets the guidelines for minimal visibility.
Thank you, Ms. Sajid. Commissioner Mosley?
Yeah, in terms of those conditions, I think because this is we don't want to make assumptions, but I would certainly like to open it back up to the applicant to talk about what the mechanical solution on this site would be. Because it's a commercial building, you're coming very close to meeting the sidewalk on the Lillian Street side. I don't know what sort of yard is left. Certainly that would be inappropriate in the front. And I would think for a building of this type that the mechanical would be planned and located on the roof, given that this is an application to use the majority of the lot. It just provides some clarity there, so that we don't even offer the option of HVAC being located where there's really not a lot of space for it on either side or in the rear to interrupt the parking. And as far as foundation heights, I would say, given again that this is a commercial building, it should be slab on grade, but would want to get some additional confirmation from the applicant, because matching a building of different use with all the things that go along with that, that we probably want to be, we want to be very specific about what we're asking the applicant to do in making a standard set of, I know that's understood by the staff, a commercial building is going to be on slab on grade, but to require it to match something that's adjacent with a technicality that might not be appropriate based on use.
So, Commission, are you in agreement to open up for Mr. McCoy to answer questions that you may have, or to further explain what could be some options? Commissioner Mayhaw?
Yes, I think it would be very appropriate to hear what he has to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. McCoy?
Thank you all for those questions. To directly address Commissioner Mosley's comments, that all of the HVAC units will be on the roof. That includes for the retail space below. We've chased that out so that those will all be off the ground. As far as the finished floor of the lower level, we will be setting that, I believe, we're setting that, it will be slab on grade, and it'll be set appropriately so that the center entrance to those spaces can be achieved through the grade of the sidewalk that's currently in place, the public sidewalk. that'll also play into the elevation of the adjusting the current parking in the back. It'd be pretty close to where it is currently.
Okay. Any comments, Mr. McCoy, on the landscaping referral by Commissioner Vice Chair Stewart?
Sure. I think that that's all appropriate. I did not mush up the drawing with a lot of landscaping, just so you can see the building. We are completely on board with possibly we can even submit it for review. I don't know what review you all would have over that, but certainly have some requirement for the streetscape there, and we could provide some more landscape buffer at that area for sure.
Vice Chair Stewart, does that help your thought through process?
It does. That, yeah, being sensitive to the neighborhood, I think will be beneficial for everybody.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Any other discussions? Commissioner Price?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate everybody's comments. I'm in agreement. I'm persuaded by the applicant's presentation and by Councilman Withers' comments. I think it's a good project, and clearly there's precedent in the immediate area for multi-story mixed-use buildings. So, you know, without any further, unless somebody else has additional questions, I'd be happy to make a motion.
Okay, hold for just a moment. Any other discussions, commissioners? Okay, Commissioner Price?
Yes.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yes, with respect to 307 South 11, I move for approval with the standard staff conditions that Ms. Sajid listed a minute ago. That's it. That's what I move.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Please raise your hand. Commissioner Mosley?
Commissioner Mosley, a second.
Okay, there is a first, there's a second. Now I will take any other questions before we take the roll call? Okay, we are taking roll. Yay or nay? Vice Chairman Stewart?
Yay.
Commissioner Fitz?
Yay.
Commissioner Jones?
Yay.
Commissioner Mayhall?
Yay.
Commissioner Mosley?
Yes.
Commissioner Price?
Yay.
Commissioner Tibbs?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments? Otherwise, we will go to the next project. All right. Now is the time for anyone to call if they have public comment regarding the new construction at 328 Harvard Avenue. And that number again is 629-255-1911. And at this time, Commissioner Fitz has advised that she will recuse herself from this project, and Ms. Baldock will be our presenter.
Good afternoon. Sorry. Trying to talk and run the PowerPoint is apparently difficult. This is an application to demolish the existing house and construct a new infill. The existing house is non-contributing and demolition is appropriate and meets the neighborhood guidelines. The proposal meets most of the design guidelines. The new house will be 1.5 stories tall with a roof height of 27 feet, 6 inches above grade and an eave height of 14 feet above grade. The analysis in the staff recommendation incorrectly listed the roof height as 30 feet. The adjacent historic houses to the left and the right are 22 feet, 4 inches and 20 feet tall, respectively, with eave heights of 11 feet, 6 inches and 9 feet, 6 inches above grade. Other historic houses on the block range between 20 feet and 26 feet tall with similar eave heights. Staff recommends that the ridge and eave heights of the new house be reduced to 26 feet and 11 feet, 6 inches, respectively, so that neither feature is taller than the corresponding component of any historic house on the block. The house will be slightly shifted towards the right side of the lot, with a walkway leading from the front porch on the right street to another secondary entrance on the left side. Currently, the plan shows the walkway on the left terminating in the front yard rather than connecting to the sidewalk. Staff recommends that this walkway continue to the sidewalk and that the existing curb cut be removed. The HVAC is proposed to be located on the left side towards the rear of the building's primary mass. Staff recommends that the HVAC be located further back beyond the midpoint of the house's overall depth. Staff recommends approval with the conditions noted in the staff recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Baldock. And is the applicant online? And if you are, please state your name and your address.
My name is Shelley Carter with Dryden Architecture and Design, representing the applicant David Bragg. Address 2520 White Avenue.
Okay. Mr. Carter, do you have any comments?
Yes, thank you. We would love to be able to, we're excited about the materials and the conditions that reference presenting the materials prior to construction. We're on board with that. The movement of the HVAC towards the rear, we are on board with that. And we hope that we could engage some discussion today about perhaps some flexibility in the items that relate to eave height and ridge height, as well as the walkway extension. We've been fortunate to be able to meet with staff twice during this design process and have appreciated the help to guide an appropriate design. Excuse me. And through this process, we've done several things already to kind of reduce the feel. We appreciate our clients, the applicant's desire to respect the existing fabric. And so we reduced the roof slope from 12-12 to 10-12. We have 9-foot ceilings instead of soaring out of scale with a new construction 10-foot. We lowered the entry porch floor from 2'6" to 1'4" to bring the whole mass down. There's a section of the living room in the middle of the house that we stepped down in order to address some structural construction issues that we can show on another slide. And we extended the roof line at the bay down to kind of really address the neighboring left and right houses where it is more of 11'6". And so regarding the ridge and eave height, we would hope that we could establish something that didn't greatly contrast with the surrounding fabric. If you look at the slide with the photographs, I think it's towards the end of the pack. That's not it yet.
Are you asking for a slide? Oh, there you go.
There was a sheet with our submittal that showed the house. The address is 3726 Princeton. That is around the corner. That shows more of the typical eave height that we were wanting to be around, which is a 13-foot gutter to grade dimension.
This is Robin. The commissioners have a full packet, but not every single drawing is in the presentation.
Okay. So around the corner on Princeton Avenue, there's a home that's been recently remodeled. It's 3726 Princeton, and its dimension from gutter to grade is 13 feet. And we felt we really liked that house and felt that we were more in line with that and not greatly contrasting with the immediate surrounding. And so we feel that when we proposed about a 14'5" eave, which is actually where the existing location would be on many of the neighboring streets if it continued into a porch like it does frequently. And so we are not out of the norm there. And so if you go back to the slide that's called building section diagram, on this sheet you can see the section on the left shows in dark an outline of the existing house just as a reference, and grayed out behind that is our proposal with a horizontal at the ridge showing reduced down 1 foot reduced down to 26 feet. And then if you look to the right, in the middle, we've taken the proposed roof line and lowered it to where the recommended height would be, and to illustrate how we would not be able to humanly access the volumes upstairs, and that the eaves would come down to about 8'5". Right there, you see the scale figure. And then if you go to the next slide that shows living room section, it shows how problematic if we lowered the eave, it would be for the central living room space. Again, we have clients that are 6'5" and 6'1" and want to have an appropriate space for them in that area. And so we think the ridge, if it got lowered a foot, could work, but we would like to see the eave north of 11'6" to provide an appropriate house for them. And then regarding the walkway extension, we do agree with the recommendation to extend to the street. And we would like to ask that that be an extension that is an ornamental gravel extension that goes from the house to the street and aligns with the existing curb cut, which we want to maintain to continue to allow lawn equipment without creating unsightly damage to the curb, to provide a spot for one car, and should they in the future want to facilitate handicap access. And this is similar if you go to, or wait, I don't think you have the aerial. Do you have the aerial imagery of the site?
I don't think we do have the aerial imagery, but it is in the staff recommendation.
Okay, the aerial imagery shows the property immediately south with a driveway that does what we're asking to do. And if you go 3 houses down, it does the same thing. And so we would like to simply apply that extension to the street, similar to the way they do.
Okay, is that your comments for the moment, Mr. Carter?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions to Mr. Carter? Commissioner Price?
Yes, can we please go back to the cross section showing the staff recommended ridge height versus what's proposed? Yes. So on the left, it says staff recommended ridge height is 26 feet, and it points to the cross, the bullseye looking thing. But the staff recommended roof condition on the right is set below that. Is that a discrepancy, or am I looking at it incorrectly?
You're looking at it correctly. With the 26-foot crosshair is maintained at the top. The diagram in the middle simply shows if we dropped the proposed roof down at the proposed 10-12 pitch. You're correct. That could steepen to the 26 feet, which still would not allow us to enter into the space or the closet.
Okay, I'm confused by these drawings because it seems like the staff recommended roof condition should be up a foot or so.
Should be what? I'm sorry.
The ridge should be raised a foot or so, but that you're saying that has to do with, I guess I just don't understand the discrepancy exactly.
You're correct. That ridge, if you put the ridge at the recommended height and altered the slope, the diagram simply shows a lowering of the roof. You're correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner, let me just a second here. I've got my screen. I forgot what I was going to say, but Commissioner Price, I think that was part of the recommendation number 1. Just for our enlightenment. Commissioner Mosley? Commissioner Mosley?
Gotta unmute there. Sorry, I'm switching back and forth between the application, not what's on the screen to it. And I think I've read that will clarify this, but I'm going to voice it nevertheless. the applicant's drawings show the front of the house or the house that's portion of the house that's facing Harvard at an they give a height from finished floor at hold on 16 feet 3, and we're talking about.
Sorry, Ben. I was asking if there was going to be another screen on that.
Hello. Yeah, no, we're jumping from. I'm struggling to make sense of what's in the recommendation that's referred to as 26 feet. Is that at the rear portion of the house or at the street? Or because we're measuring at the street on adjacent houses, and yet we're referring to something that's 26 feet in this project, and maybe it's mislabeled on the section at 16 feet 3 instead of 26 feet 3. That may be the confusion. I just wanted to clarify that. I'm talking about sheet A300.
Commissioner Mosley, if you can hear me, this is Sean Alexander. That 16.3 label on the front elevation is above finished floor, but that shows finished floor from the second floor. So the total height was currently 27.7, and we are recommending 26 feet. Was it 26? Yeah, 26 even. Because GIS shows that the tallest house on the street currently is 26 feet. We've kind of always just said that the newest house on the block can't be the tallest house on the block.
Understood, and that makes sense to me. That sort of clarifies. I was trying to jump around to the various references, and I've got some more clarity with it now. Thanks.
Commissioner Mosley, I just want to clarify too. It said it's 26 and 11 foot 6 inches.
Okay.
Not even 26 foot.
Okay.
Okay. We need to close public hearing. Okay, since we're really under discussions already, so we are closing public hearing, and now we have continued discussion. I think it's because we wanted to hear back from Mr. Carter. Commissioners?
Excuse me?
Oh, no, we were just waiting. We were just bringing you back in for questions that before we closed our public hearing. So that's why we're now closing public hearing. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Commissioners, under discussion, any more questions? Are we clear on the question of the height and the difference in recommendation by the staff? Let's just make, from deliberation I'm hearing, let's just be clear on that. Any questions? You thinking about it? Okay. Commissioner Jones?
More on the curb. I have a question on the curb cut, not necessarily the height right now, but for the removing the curb cut, is that just because to discourage someone to park there out in front of the home, or is that something that doesn't exist? And then once you remove the driveway, there shouldn't be a curb cut? If staff could just give me a little more information on I'm trying to look at the drawings in the packet for the curb cut, and because it's where the concrete drive exists now, as far as I can see. So just a little more info on that would be helpful.
Sure. For the staff, for the commissioners, if you have your staff recommendation, there is the best image would probably be the aerial view that's on the second page. But and for Melissa, since that's not one of the slides, just put the site plan. The existing, this lot is very deep, as are all the others on this block. And many of the houses have driveways, and driveways typically obviously start at the street, but they go up past the house up one side, or the left or right side, and extend to the rear yard so that you can drive all the way down the driveway. And this house has a driveway on the left side currently. And the existing and the proposed houses are about the same width, but just the orientation and the depth of the new house would make it impossible for a driveway to extend beyond just the front wall of the house. And this lot is actually it's a 60-foot wide lot, whereas most of the lots on the block are 75 feet wide or 70 feet wide. So those other, while the house has a driveway currently, because it's a slightly narrower lot and just the orientation would make it very difficult to keep that existing condition that is the common condition that driveways extend beyond the house. There are no houses that have just front yard parking. And an original, earlier version of this, the proposal showed front yard parking. Our recommendation was to make suggestion, I should say, was to make the house narrower so that it could accommodate a longer driveway. The applicant said they wanted to keep the width of the house, but just eliminate the driveway. So to sort of take that take that all the way, we would just say that you should extend the walkway and remove the curb cut because the effect of the purpose of removing the front yard parking was not to just go back in later with front yard parking. So we would want the curb cut to be removed just so that it's clear what the purpose and effect of that recommendation is.
Thank you, Sean. Commissioner Mosley?
And so, Sean, I guess in restating that, the staff's position is that front yard parking is discouraged in overlay districts in general, and and so therefore this comment and stipulation is related specifically to front yard parking, but in practice it has to do with curb cuts and some of those other items. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, I think that's correct.
Mr. Carter, public hearing has been closed, so until we're in discussion, so give us a moment here. Commissioners? What issue are we processing on? Number one of the recommendation? And I think you've addressed number 3 already. Oh, Commissioner Mosley?
So, can I get a little more clarity from the staff? Because the documents submitted in the application measure from, there's a 0 at, the 0 doesn't appear to me at grade. And I'm not suggesting it one way or the other. I just want to make sure that wherever we end up, that everybody's measuring from the same place. So in other words, if we measure the tallest height on taking into consideration the tallest structure on the street or in the nearby is measured from grade to the top of the ridge at 26 feet. Or if the applicant wants to go and have that surveyed so that they get however we figure that out, we're starting at one place and we're finishing at another place. And it's the same measurement on both of those. I want to understand in the staff's recommendation relative to the drawings that the applicant has provided, if we're all measuring from the same place or are we starting from grade? Because I think certainly that will make some difference. And it may even speak to a question that Commissioner Price had earlier about how usable and how far that ridge comes down to the actual interior of the house. If we could get a little more clarity, both in terms of measuring to the eave and to the ridge, that would be helpful for me.
Sure. This is Sean Alexander again. Again, the Metro GIS shows that the tallest house on the block is 26 feet. And I believe that was for 300 Harvard Avenue, possibly 304. It was certainly up around where the road turns a little bit. On the front elevation, yes, there's a 0, which is finished floor of the first floor, 10 feet to the eave, and then that shows a 4-foot knee wall, and then 16 above eave. That is their measurement from the second floor, finished floor elevation. And obviously the foundation is a little over a foot above grade. So for this house, apples to apples, to not be taller than what we believe to be the height of the tallest house on the block currently, we would say that the ridge height here on 328 should, from grade to ridge height, should not exceed 26 feet. For the eave height, I mean, it's more difficult to go measuring all of the eave heights on the street, and certainly the one that Mr. Carter pointed out on Princeton is not on this street. It's on another street. So again, we try to compare apples to apples, and closer apples more strongly compared than far away apples. So for that, we were just going from the grade to eave on the adjacent house. But again, that's certainly something that the commission can look a little bit more, look for more far away apples. We weren't necessarily suggesting just extending the eave down to meet that. It could be obviously changing the pitch of the roof, or doing a shorter knee wall or something like that. Yeah, but we were measuring those from grade to eave, grade to ridge height.
All right. Commissioner Jones?
Sure. Thank you, Sean, and great questions from the other commissioners. And with that in mind, what Sean just said about, the measurement, the overall height from grade to, the top of the structure, top of the roof, it not being, I'm in agreement, it shouldn't be taller than the tallest one in the neighborhood. And I also agree with Sean, closer apples, as we've had discussions about immediate context and, that being the most important. So, with that, with this discussion, I'm in agreement with staff's recommendation for this project as of now.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Price?
I agree with Commissioner Jones and with Sean's analysis.
Okay. Would you like to make the motion? Either one?
Sure. With respect to 328 Harvard Avenue, I move for approval with staff recommendation.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Jones?
Commissioner Jones, I second.
Okay, there's a motion first and a second. And are there any other discussions before we make the motion to be approved? Or not? Okay. I will do the roll call, and yay or nay, please. Vice Chairman Stewart? Oh.
Yay.
Oh, all right. Commissioner Jones?
Yay.
Commissioner Mayhall?
Yay.
Commissioner Mosley?
Sorry about that. I was just trying to run through the drawings real quick.
Sure. We could have a discussion after. There's a motion on the table. Are you yay or nay?
A nay.
You're a nay? Okay.
That's correct.
We will note that. Commissioner Price?
Yay.
Commissioner Tibbs?
Yay. Or
All
yes.
Right. Yes. Got you. I didn't quite hear Commissioner Price. Did you say yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay. Okay. All right. The motion passes. Is there any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, we are moving on. Oh, okay. Commissioner Mosley?
This, and I think certainly the staff's going to see this again with the condition number one, given that that's some not insignificant distance between the two. I just want to comment that these two things are somewhat working at cross purposes to each other, because if you steepen the slope to get the ridge lower and reduce the ridge, you turn a 1.5 story house into just a really tall 1-story house, effectively. So I'm seeing a little more possibility for variance between those two, being that they're interconnected, and that really is more of an understanding. In looking at the drawings and trying to synthesize this, that's not our job. So I'll be quiet now. It failed. I mean, the motion passed with the staff's recommendations. I've got a very capable architect who I'm sure can mitigate that with their client and with the drawings.
Duly noted, Commissioner. We're moving on to now is the time for anyone to call if they have public comment regarding the addition at 1901 Russell Street. And again, the number is 629-255-1911. And staff, Ms. Warren, will present the project.
Yes, and it is infill at 1901 Russell. The next two cases, 1901 and 1903 Russell Street, are neighboring lots. Both are applications for new construction where historic homes were destroyed by the tornado on March 3rd. In both cases, the homeowner is seeking to rebuild a single-family home. First, we will look at 1901 Russell, which is on the northeast corner of Russell and 19th. Here you can see the 1-story house as it stood prior to the tornado. And here it is after the tornado. Staff issued an emergency demolition permit as outlined in the report. The proposed new construction is a 1.5-story house. The new house is slightly taller than the historic house was, but at 25 feet 6 inches, it is still well within the appropriate height for the context. The width is also appropriate, and the footprint has a modest square footage of about 1,800 square feet, inclusive of porches. Staff finds the overall form and massing are appropriate. Here are the side elevations. The applicant would like to use wood siding with an 8-inch exposure and mitered corners to match the historic condition. Staff finds this to be appropriate. The roof form, orientation, rhythm of openings are all appropriate as well. The applicant would like to match the historic front setback, which staff finds to be appropriate. No walkway to the front sidewalk is shown on the site plan, and staff recommends that one be added. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of the application with the conditions noted in the staff recommendation. The applicants, Eric and Danielle Peters, have agreed to these conditions and do not wish to speak. Eric is available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Ms. Ziegler, are any comments regarding this project?
Yes, we received an email from Councilmember Withers. He writes, I regret that my work schedule shall not permit me to attend this afternoon's Metro Historic Zoning Commission meeting, but I did want to share a few thoughts about 3 items in the Laughlin Springs neighborhood that are on today's meeting agenda. And taking a break from his email, he mentions 3, but part of that we read for another case. This is for these 2 cases. So continuing with his email, first, I express my full support for the approval of the applications for 1901 and 1903 Russell Street, with recommended conditions. That area of the Laughlin Springs neighborhood was devastated by the March 3rd tornado, and a large number of contributing homes have been lost, including the ones that stood in these 2 parcels. Laughlin Springs neighbors have been anxious about how the large numbers of new infill housing units that will have to be rebuilt will maintain the historic character of the neighborhood, even with the design guidelines. Will they still recognize their neighborhood? These 2 applications have done a marvelous job of approximating not only the height and massing, but even the style of the original homes that were lost in the tornado. While this is not a requirement, it is welcome, and I would like to encourage the staff and the commission to continue comparing the recently lost historic context with new infill housing application designs for the tornado-impacted parcels. Thanks to you and the commissioners for considering these comments, as well as any other comments that may have been shared by Laughlin Springs neighbors. Stay safe. And we have not received any other comments or any phone calls.
Okay. Is the applicant online, and do you have any rebuttal to the public comment?
I am here. My name is Eric Peters, the owner.
Okay, your address is at?
I'm sorry, 1901 Russell Street, 37206.
Thank you. Do you have any comments for the rebuttal?
I do not. We're very eager to get back into our home. Thank you.
Yes, yes, and yes, it would be very nice for you to get back. And yes, that was pretty devastating as well. So,
yes,
thank you for working with the staff on your new project.
Yes, I would like to thank Jenny Warren again. She's received a lot of appreciation. I'm going to echo all that. She's been wonderful to help us and work with us and just be a great voice for us on your behalf. So thank you guys.
Very good. Thank you. And really, we are glad that you can move forward fairly soon after the tornado. So, yes.
Yes.
Close public hearing. Okay, we are closing public hearing. Okay, commissioners, discussion, questions? Mostly.
Yes, Commissioner Mosley. I have a question, clarification for the staff. Obviously, as a replacement to what was there, it's a wonderfully scaled house, and I appreciate the attention that the applicant has made to, hopefully bring the house up to some more modern standards, but really to cite something that is very near and comparable, about as close to as identical as possible. I did want to ask the staff, I noticed, and I don't necessarily see it as a problem, but I wanted to make sure that the mixture of double hung and casement windows is appropriate for both the house kind of in the period and some of those other things. The window patterning looks fine. I just had noticed that is a little bit down in the weeds, but something that is intended and acceptable.
Yeah, this is Jenny Warren. Yes, we did look closely at the windows, and that is something that we have routinely approved with double hung and casement windows within the same house. And you would see that historically as well. Could you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Jenny. Unless Mr. Mosley has. Okay.
No, I don't have anything further. Thanks for answering that question.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions, discussion? Commissioner Jones?
First of all, I'd just like to share my condolences with the applicant for the loss of your home and everything you've been to after the tornado, and wish you and your families, safe and healthy recovery from that. And in regards to this project, I think it's just a wonderful project to bring, this scale of house back to the neighborhood. And so with that in mind, regarding 1901 Russell Street, I move for approval with staff recommendations.
There's a motion, and Commissioner Mayhaw.
I second that motion.
Okay, there's a first and a second. Are there any other questions before the motion is approved? Okay, no other hands. Commissioner Mosley, did you have your hand raised?
I lowered it. Ms. Mayhall is right there with a second.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will call for the vote for the motion. And Vice Chairman Stewart?
Yay.
Commissioner Fitz?
Yay.
Commissioner Jones?
Yay.
Commissioner Mayhall? Yes?
Yay.
Okay. Commissioner Mosley?
Yes.
Commissioner Price?
Yay.
Commissioner Tibbs?
Yes.
Thank you again. Now is the time for anyone to call if they have public comment regarding 1903 Russell Street. And the number again is 629-255-1911, and our staff presenter is Ms. Warren.
Okay. 1903 Russell Street is next door to the last property we just discussed. Here's the historic house prior to the March 3rd tornado, and here it is after. Again, staff issued an emergency demolition permit as outlined in your report. The proposed new construction is nearly a replica of the historic house. It's about 18 feet tall, 34 feet wide, and has a footprint of about 1,500 square feet. The massing, materials, roof form, orientation, and rhythm of openings are all appropriate. Here are the side elevations. The applicant has agreed to match the historic front setback, which staff finds to be appropriate. Again, no walkway to the sidewalk is shown on the site plan, and staff recommends that one be added. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of the application with the conditions noted in the staff recommendation. The applicant has agreed to the conditions and does not wish to present. Cheyenne Smith is here and available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Ms. Ziegler, do we have any other comments regarding this project?
Yes, we did receive an email from Councilmember Withers, which is the same one I read in the previous case.
Okay. And the applicant, Ms. Smith, do you have any comments on Councilmember Withers' comments?
No, ma'am. I'm in agreement with everything.
Okay, very good. Okay, we will close public hearing. And commissioners, do you have discussion, questions? Okay, Commissioner Stewart.
Hey, I found my raise hand button. How about that?
Yes, thank you.
First, I do want to express our sympathies to the homeowner for losing this home in the tornado and all the devastation and consternation that causes. I appreciate their working with the staff and move for approval of this project based on staff recommendations.
Okay, let's go ahead with the motion first. I see three hands, and so will Commissioner Price?
Yes, second.
Are you seconding? Is that what you just commented?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. Okay, there's a first and there's a second. Commissioner Mosley?
A quick question for the applicant. I think I know what the answer is to this, but you know what happens when you assume the front exists. It looks like even after the damage that the stone columns at the front of the house survived relatively unscathed, albeit they are painted, and there's a concrete cap. Those are called out in the drawings, and I'm assuming they're existing to remain. But I'd just like to be sure if the owner or if the builder or the applicant plans to keep those if they're going to be replaced. Only reason I ask that question is oftentimes we'll see stone called out and it turns into an artificial stone, and sometimes the details, those porch details, don't end up as intended with a larger base and then a smaller cap. Given that this is a replica of the house, I don't foresee any comment other than the affirmative, but if you don't ask, you won't know. So that if the applicant could just clarify that, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yes, the homeowner, well, to answer your question, no, they did survive the storm, but they have since been demolished. But the intent is to replicate them with either a split face or a stone face with the size and as noted on the plans.
Thank you. Commissioner Price? Again, I think that Nashville has gone through quite a bit of challenges, and one being our 3/3/20 tornado. And first to the applicants as well, I want to voice that too, that we are most grateful that you are alive, and that because those houses look like they were pretty much demolished. And if you were in the house, then again, we are very grateful that you are alive. Also want to acknowledge the Metro Historic Zoning Commission staff for their expediency during the tornado. I was on site in Germantown and saw several of the staff already there by the morning. I know they've worked tirelessly to be sure that the properties, specifically the historic properties, were assessed, visited and assessed as expediently as they could. I know those are hours of work, and I want to acknowledge that for the staff and also Metro Historic Commission and Director Tim Walker. Yes, we've been through a lot, and we still have a lot going on. Now we're still having virtual meetings, and so finally, if Robin doesn't have any other comments, and she nods no, then I want to thank the commissioners and also the applicants and the staff for working together, and also public comment for going through this process with us, because it's very helpful. Everyone have a good afternoon. Thank you.